right, so as we continue with the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, it's time to talk about round one, game three for every team in it. So the first game I'm going to be talking about is the Washington Capitals and the Boston Bruins. So the Bruins won in double overtime, and they take the lead in the series 2-1. So let's get into it. First goal of the game was by Alexander Ovechkin, obviously a great player, future Hall of Famer. 11 minutes into the second, good goal for him, put Washington up 1-0. And, Washington, despite losing this, they did have a pretty good, scoring opportunities in this game. However, Taylor Hall, who was good last game as well, he tied the game up at 1 with 10 minutes left in the second, so pretty much right after Ovechkin's goal. However, Nick Dowd took the lead for the Washington Capitals 2-1 with just under 2 minutes left in the second period. And then we head to second intermission with Washington still in that lead. However, Brad Marchand got a goal for Boston with 8.5 minutes left in the third period, tying the game up at 2. And then we would head to overtime, where there would be no goals in overtime, in the first overtime at least. A lot of good saves from Ilya Samsonov. However, in double overtime, Craig Smith would score to give Boston the victory. Obviously, NHL, first goal, you get that victory. So they took that game. Final score 3-2 in that double overtime period. And yeah, now we move on. Pittsburgh Penguins defeated the New York Islanders in a high-scoring game, 5-4 final score in favor of Pittsburgh. The game is in New York, but Pittsburgh took the win, and they took the series lead 2-1. So let's get into it. A lot of goals in this game, like I mentioned. Chris Letang got the first goal of the game for Pittsburgh, 1-0, and this was just 2 minutes into the game. And there'd be a lot of good saves, especially by Tristan Jarry. And that'd be the only goal of the first period. Scott Mayfield scored for New York, tying the game up at 1. But Jeff Carter scored with 6 minutes left in the second to give Pittsburgh that 2-1 lead. And they'd actually take a 3-1 lead after a Jason Zucker goal, about 2 minutes left in the second. So a good commanding lead. But New York wasn't going to go down without a fight. Kyle Clutterbuck scored 16 minutes left in the second, making it 3-2 in favor of the Penguins still. However, New York would tie the game up with an Anthony Belleville goal to tie the game up at 14 minutes left in the third period. And honestly, I thought this game might go to overtime, but Pittsburgh knew how to score at the end, and eventually Jeff Carter, 13 minutes left in the game, once again got a goal. And that made it 4-3 in favor of the Penguins. However, Cal Clutterbuck, who was really good in this game, tied the game up at 4 with just under 6 minutes left in the game, or in regulation. And Brandon Tanev, with 3.5 minutes left, gave Pittsburgh the game-winning goal, and eventually they held on and won 5-4. So that was that game, and Pittsburgh got the win. So now we head to the next game, the Vegas Golden Knights and Wild. Obviously, I don't like the Vegas Golden Knights as a Sharks fan. I don't think any Sharks fans do, but they did get the win. They take the series lead 2-1 over the Wild with a 5-2 win in Game 3. So, yeah, let's get into it. A lot of goals for Vegas. However, despite them winning, Ryan Hartman actually opened up scoring for Minnesota 1-0 after he scored about 2.5 minutes in. Pretty good goal for Hartman. This game was in Minnesota, so good goal for him. And Joel Eriksson-Ek, who's actually a pretty respectable player, I like him. For Minnesota, he made it 2-0, 11.5 minutes left in the first, and 2-0 is a pretty good lead in the first period. However, Vegas was just unstoppable the rest of the game. Mark Stone, their captain for Vegas, he got the first goal of the game for them. 11 minutes left in the second, 2-1. And Patrick Brown tied the game up 4 minutes and 4.5 minutes left in the second. So 2-2, and just like that, it's a tied game. Riley Smith scored for Vegas, 2.5 minutes left in the second as well. Not much after the other goal. So it's 3-2 Vegas at that point, and then we head to intermission. Cam Talbot played pretty good, but obviously allowing that many goals is not very good. William Karlsson at the end of the game scored for Vegas, making it 4-2 game, and yeah, it was just over from there. I was rooting for the Wild, obviously, and then Mark Stone scored once again, making it 5-2 with under a minute left in the third. So Las Vegas, they get that victory, and they go up in the series 2-1. Then we head to the next game, which this is actually a really good game. The Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning game. The Panthers beat the Lightning in overtime in Tampa. I mean, I thought this was going to be a really good series. Tampa does look like the better team, but Florida did get this win. So anyways, yeah, let's get into it. So Sam Bennett got the first goal. That was for Florida. That was about 5 minutes into the game. And it was 1-0 Florida. They actually came out to a 2-0 lead, the Panthers, after Radko Gudas got a goal with about 13 minutes left in the first period. So that put him up 2-0. Vasilevsky played pretty good. But, I mean, like I said with the other goalies, when you're going to allow that many goals, there's stuff you got to fix. We headed into first intermission with a 2-0 Florida Panthers lead. However, Anthony Cirelli, with just 2 minutes in to the second period, made it 2-1 after scoring for the Lightning. And Ross Colton scored for the Lightning as well. 14 minutes left in the second. 2-2 tie at this point. Steven Stamkos, the captain, scored for the Lightning, making it 3-2. So this is already a really good goal. However, in the second period, with 7.5 minutes left, Alexander Wenberg scored for the Panthers, making it a tied game, 3-3. However, Braden Point gave the Lightning the lead. So the second period was a really big period, but Braden Point gave them the lead with a 4-3 push after he scored a really nice goal. And they actually went up to a 5-3 lead about 1 minute and a half left in the second after Alex Killorn scored for the Lightning. So definitely a good goal. We head into the third period in which the Panthers really came back. So Patrick Hornquist scored about 2 minutes into the third period, make it 4-5, and then Gustav Forsling made it 5-5, and we head to overtime at a 5-5 tie, which is really high scoring. And about six minutes into overtime, Ryan Lomberg scored for the Panthers on a breakaway. No chance for the Lightning to stop it, and the Panthers took their first win of actually the playoffs. So definitely a interesting game and a really good game. The Nashville Predators beat the Carolina Hurricanes, an upset to say the least, in double overtime in Game 3 of the series, 5-4. So another example of overtime action. And yeah, so the first goal was by Ryan Ellis. That was for Nashville. They had a really interesting, game. I mean, obviously they're not favorites to win at all by any means in this series, but they're playing pretty decent. So Ryan Ellis got that goal, 1-0. However, Sebastian Aho scored for the Carolina Hurricanes, making it 1-1. And Philip Forsberg scored right when time was about to expire, about just 20 seconds left in the first period, 2-1. And then, however, pretty much towards the beginning of the second period, Jordan Staal scored for the Carolina Hurricanes, making it to a 2-2 tie. And then Carolina would actually get the lead with a Vincent Trocheck goal with a 3-2 lead. So that was definitely a really good goal for him. Mikhail Granlund, however, for Nashville, got the tie with a really nice goal for him right there in the crease. I didn't even know it went in, but it did. So it was 3-3 and, a really good goal. Ryan Johansson for the Preds gave them the lead 6 minutes into the third period, 4-3 Predators at this point. However, Brett Pesce tied the game up with 3 minutes left in the game for Carolina. So 4-4, back and forth game. And in overtime, there'd be nothing. A lot of good saves by both goalies. But in double overtime, Matt Duchene scored for the Predators. The crowd went wild. A really nice goal. Kind of a breakaway situation, and they got the win in double overtime. So good goal for him, and good win for the Preds. So the Avalanche took their game over the Blues. They go up 3-0 in the series, 5-1. I mean, the Blues are just getting outplayed simply every single game, right? So, yeah. The first goal of this game wouldn't actually come until the second period by Ryan Graves, 2 minutes in. Pretty nice goal for him. I mean, there's really nothing the Blues could do to stop him. Alex Newhook scored for the Avs, making it 2-0. There's about 7 minutes left in the second. 3-0 after Tyson Jost scored with about 4 minutes left in the second. So, 3-0. However, the Blues did get on the board. Tyler Bozak scored quickly after the Avalanche goal, so it was 3-1. But I mean, for the rest of the game, it was all Avalanche. 4-1 after Brandon Saad scored in the third period with 6 minutes left, and they closed it off. 54 seconds left. JT Comfer scored for the Avalanche, making it 5-1, and they took that game 3. Now, the final game of this day, there's obviously going to be one more, was the Winnipeg Jets taking a 3-0 series lead over the Oilers. And I'm not saying I'm rooting for the Jets, but I definitely kind of have a soft spot for them because mostly they're fans because, I mean, I know how it's like losing a team. And for those of you that don't know, Winnipeg, they had the Jets a while back, and then they moved to Phoenix to become the Coyotes, and they got the new Jets, which are the ones we see today. However, it's still not necessarily the same thing. So I know what it is like having a team leave your city. But a 5-4 victory in overtime. The Jets are just, simply outplaying the Oilers, which is not something I really expected. Leon Draisaitl scored, actually in this game, the Oilers blew a lead. So Leon Draisaitl scored for the Oilers, making it 1-0 in this game. So that was their first goal. And he actually scored again about halfway through the first period, making it 2-0. And then we head to intermission. There wouldn't be much action until about 2 minutes and a half left in the second. Nikolaj Ehlers scored for the Winnipeg Jets, making it 2-1. However, Zach Kassian scored for the Oilers, making it 3-1, and we would head to intermission. And then Jujhar Khaira scored for the Oilers. I mean, 4-1. It's hard to come back from that, but the Oilers did. It was all Oilers. From the rest of this game. Matthew Perreault scored for the Jets, 4-2. Blake Wheeler scored 4-3. This is 5 minutes left in the third, so crunch time, right? And Josh Morrissey tied the game up shortly after this, and it was 4-4. Head to overtime, and Nikolaj Ehlers gets another goal halfway through overtime, and 5-4 victory for the Jets. So yeah. The final game was obviously the Canadiens versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, in which, in a pretty low-scoring game, the Leafs won 2-1 against the Canadiens. Obviously, the Leafs had a really good year. They were first in their division. But yeah, let's get into this. So, Carey Price actually did pretty good in the first period. There would be no scoring until the second. However, the Leafs struck first with a William Nylander goal off Carey Price, and they went up 1-0. This was 12 minutes left in the second. However, Nicholas Suzuki tied up the game for the Montreal Canadiens, making it 1-1. A nice slap shot for him, making it 1-1. However, with just 3 minutes left in the second period, Morgan Rielly would score for the Leafs, making it a 2-1 hockey game, and the Leafs would hold on. There'd be no more scoring, and there'd be pretty good goaltending the rest of the game, but the Leafs got the win as, they were able to retain their lead, and they took that game 3. So the Leafs currently lead 2-1.